welcome back for the love of food. What we are making today are really easy chocolate chip cookies. This recipe my family loves. I tend not to make them all the time because it does have shortening and there's a lot healthier ways to make cookies, but today I'm going to splurge and let them have what they like. So what we're going to start off with is 3/4 cup of shortening. And I measure all my ingredients out beforehand, so there's no question of, did I forget to add this or exactly. So I always measure out all my ingredients beforehand. So we have 3/4 cup of shortening. We have 1¼ cups of light brown sugar. You could use dark brown if you have it. We have 2 tablespoons of milk, 1½ teaspoons of vanilla, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda. We haven't measured out our chocolate chips yet, and those I really do by eye rather than measuring them. But what I'm also going to throw in is I'm going to throw in a teaspoon of local honey into my wet ingredients. Local honey is great. For those who have allergies, if you can buy some local honey from some farmers in your area and you eat it throughout the winter, they say, I don't know if it's a midwife's tale, but they say it's supposed to help with allergies towards the beginning of the year. So I always like to try to throw in some natural honey whenever I can. So what we're going to start off with is we're going to blend our wet ingredients and then incorporate our dry ingredients. So what we're going to do is we are going to blend our sugar and shortening together. After that's blended, then you're going to add your milk and your vanilla. Once that is all blended together, then you'll add your egg. And actually we can go ahead and add our dry ingredients. So we have our 2 cups of flour here. We have our salt and our baking soda, and we can go ahead and add those right now together because we're not going to blend those. So once we have all these ingredients blended together, then we're going to slowly add some flour mixture into our batter, and that's going to give us the cookie batter. Then the only thing that left is to do is to add your chocolate chips or walnuts if you like them, or any type of nuts really, and then bake them. So right now I have our oven preheated on 375, and your cookies are going to take approximately 7 to 8 minutes. Depending on the size that you do them, but we'll do that after. So let's go ahead and blend our shortening and brown sugar together. Okay, now that our brown sugar and shortening is blended, we're going to add in our milk and our vanilla. We'll blend that up, and then we'll add in the egg. Okay, so you can kind of see the consistency. And then we'll add in our egg. Alrighty, so we have our egg blended in, and lastly we're going to add the honey. So I'm going to do about a teaspoon of honey, and then mix that in. Okay, so now for our flour. So we just dumped in the baking soda and the salt into the flour. I'm just going to kind of mix it in just a little bit, and what you're going to do is you're going to gradually add this in. Now, the key is not to add too much flour at once. So we're going to add in some, you're going to mix it till it's all incorporated, and then you're going to add in a little bit more. Alright, so we have everything blended together now. All the flour is incorporated. Make sure to scrape down your sides. And now, here's where you can kind of get creative as far as what type of cookies you want to make. So this is just the base. If we add chocolate chips to it, then we're making chocolate chip cookies. You could easily add M&Ms to it. Like I said, you can add any type of nuts. You could add raisins, macadamia nuts, any type of variety that you want. But for today, we're just going to use chocolate chips. So we're going to add in our morsels. Give those a mix around. Alright, so we have our chocolate chips all mixed in. Our oven is preheated and ready to go. And now we're going to go ahead and scoop our cookies onto the baking mat. So what I have is a traditional sheet pan, And then I have a silicone baking mat. If you don't have a silicone baking mat, I definitely suggest investing in one. They're fairly cheap. You can get them at your local store for about anywhere from $3 to $5. But they stand heat up into like almost 500 degrees. So it's really good, and it saves your sheet pan. It also allows you to clean it. So that way, if you're doing multiple batches of cookies, like we'll have obviously much more than, one sheet pan full, we can go ahead and do multiples and just, wiping down the sheet pan without having to really get in there and rewash everything all over it again. So what we're going to do to scoop out this cookie dough is we're going to take 2 spoons. And we're going to scoop some on our spoon, about that much. And then you're going to place it on the cookie pan with the other spoon. You don't have to worry about it being completely round. The cookie dough will flatten out itself. So you want to try to keep it consistent as much as possible, and that's why I use a spoon. I know a lot of people use a cookie scooper. An ice cream scooper to scoop their cookie mix. But I find 2 spoons works just as well. So what we're going to do is we're not going to make these too big, so we'll have enough room to do 3 across and probably 6 down. These are going to go, like I said, into the oven for about, I'm going to check them after 7 minutes. You'll start to smell them probably when you know they're ready. But I always like to undercook my cookies a little bit. My family likes them chewy, not necessarily crunchy, so typically the time to cook cookies is anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes. So that's why I do mine anywhere from 7 to 8, because that last minute really changes the texture of your cookie. And also, it all depends if you can make these cookies larger. This will yield probably about 2.5 dozen cookies. If you notice when you do cookies anywhere out of a package, they tend to say that they yield a lot more, and that's if you're making some really tiny cookies, which we're not going to do bite-sized cookies. So actually, we're only going to do 4 down here rather than putting them closer together. So they're all ready to go. They're going to go into the oven, and we'll see what they look like once they come out. All right, so our cookies are done. So you can kind of see they barely have a little color on them. And taking them out of the oven while they just have a little color on them versus being nice and golden brown is really going to affect how chewy they are. So what we're going to do is you want to leave them sit for at least 5 minutes, because right now if you try to put your spatula under these cookies, they're just going to fall apart. So go ahead and let them sit. After 5 minutes, go ahead and take them and put them on a cooling rack and load up your next batch. So there you have it. Nice, easy 5-minute cookies. And I guarantee you your family will be much happy with this recipe than using a simple box recipe that just calls for eggs and oil. Enjoy.